Grammer here of Moonlight Monster Media. And when I'm not jamming on my guitar or writing books like Dirt Road Tales of Horror, I'm listening to none other than the No Holds Barred, Satisfaction Guaranteed, No Money Down, Let's Find Out with Diego. So good, you may even get visited by little gray aliens.
Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us the final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, out of Pennsylvania, this husband and wife team is at the forefront of paranormal investigations. Their passion drives them to explore renowned haunted sites across America while also delving into hidden paranormal gems. They constantly push the boundaries by testing innovative theories and cutting-edge equipment in their quest for the supernatural. All this plus more. Please welcome new friends to our show, Josh and Mary. They are known as the Unknown Project. My friends, welcome to Let's Find Out. What a beautiful Friday night to talk about paranormal.
Thank you for having us, Diego. We appreciate it. Nice to meet everybody.
Of course. And before we started talking, I was watching some of the YouTube videos. I should have been watching them for the last week in preparation for this. And when I discovered you about a month ago, I think, I actually went on there and I saw a lot of great things you guys have on there. A lot of great explorations you're doing. Some of the results from your investigations are also on there. I have a lot of questions, so I hope you don't mind because we got a lot of time. And before we begin, with so much history, especially in your state, so many places to go on investigations. I mean, it could take a lifetime to explore all these locations. Before you both became a team, was there paranormal history on both sides of your family? Well, let me break it down. That's the first question. And two, did the paranormal bring the team together, or is that something you discovered along the way?
So for me, I've always experienced things throughout my life. So as I got older, they just became, I guess, more frequent, more noticeable, and I was more curious. So, and of course, I love watching the ghost hunting TV shows when they all started many, many years ago. And it was just an idea. And Josh was like, do you want to go to one of these places? I was like, yes, let's do it. And that's how it all started.
And I grew up in with the paranormal in my childhood home. I used to hear footsteps as a little boy coming up out of my basement every night around the same time. Then eventually, as I grew a little bit older, I decided to open up the basement door and see that nothing was there, which left nothing but questions for me. And like Mary said, we were just watching a ghost show the one night, and I said, you want to go to one of these places and see what this is really like? And, it's all history from there.
Yep.
Just a direct approach. And when you say you just went down there and just opened the door, I was shocked. It's like most people were like, yeah, no, I'm not going down there. You just went there, what the hell? I'm just going to go do it.
I was about 9 or 10 years old till finally, as a little boy, 4, 5, 6, 7, I was, covered my head with my covers in my bed, like the average kid would, and, closed my eyes and tried to go to sleep. And then finally it was, I'm not imagining this. What is this? And of course, when you ask the rest of the family, they don't hear it. They later on admitted to hearing it. But at the time, I felt like I was all alone. And eventually I switched bedrooms away from the basement, and I couldn't hear it anyway, unless he was, something was stomping up our steps.
Wow. And then did you figure out what that was?
Well, at a later age, my family then told me that my grandfather took his life in that basement. So it very well could have been residual, where it's just, the same time of the day, or the night that he used to walk up the steps, or, maybe he's trapped there, because we both believe when you commit suicide, you are trapped. So he very well could still be trapped in that home.
That's also why we love ghost hunting, because each place we go to, there's different types of haunts, I guess you can call them. Is it residual? Is it intelligent? Are they stuck here? Every situation is different.
Very true. And also the history of the location is also different. Some can be similar, but certain locations have, obviously, like in extreme cases, the activity is at a higher level.
Correct.
And you got to be really careful when you go to these locations to what it is that you do. Now, going back to when you said you were a fan of some of the shows, and you decided that one day, let's go do this. Now, when you first did your investigations, what kind of equipment did you have? Because I know after years, you start elevating your game a little bit. You start either creating your own equipment or purchasing. How was your first investigation like, as both of you as a team? What did you take with you?
We had 2 camcorders, IR camcorders, and a digital recorder.
Yep, and night vision binoculars.
And that's it. And we learned a lot.
We learned that we didn't know half as much as we thought we did know. Trans-Allegheny taught us some lessons that night, because we picked a heck of a location to be our very first.
You almost kind of went to the head of the class there, and you just learning to walk. So, I mean,
go big
you
or
brought
go
that
home.
up. Let's talk about it. I agree with that. Either you do it or you don't. And so, talking about that, so how was that like? Because being so new to the game at that time, it would have to have been like the wow factor must have been there.
So we really couldn't see. We were in the dark. So just because you have an infrared camcorder does not mean you're going to see in the dark. You see on TV, they have extra lights and stuff. We didn't have that. We didn't know.
We had no idea. We couldn't see our hand but 2 feet in front of the lens.
Yep.
And that was about it. So we learned that there's dark and then there's darker. And there's levels to that. And a lot of battery drainage. I think we had 2 batteries for each camcorder. And I believe they ran out in the first 3 hours we were there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the normal things I understand too, with draining the power from devices.
It is, especially certain locations.
Yeah, Trans-Allegheny is, head of the class with that. But Pennhurst, we've experienced it. Hillview Manor. Did we at Moundsville at all? I can't remember.
No.
I don't think we were bad at Moundsville. White Hill, we were all right.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's kind of hit or miss, though, because we could go back to the same location and not experience drainage, at least to the extreme that we did previously.
And is that usually, and I know it could be attributed to spirits or even weather conditions. Did you kind of figure out what was causing that?
So we believe it's the spirits draining, especially because didn't we go outside? And the camcorder turned back on, and it's like it was just dead inside.
Yep. Or the binoculars would say goodbye, and knowing I just put 4 new AA batteries in it, and I get in the car and we leave, and boom, it turns on full battery and everything. And that's happened at Gettysburg several times, and at Pennhurst with the binoculars.
So it's not something random. So that right there tells me that there's something there that does not want to be caught or seen. So that's a pretty big thing there, because I would have got the message. It wouldn't have stopped me though. I would try to do something as well. But and I know both of you probably will go back or you will keep doing this. And which brings me to a location. While we're talking about locations, I find it very interesting because I don't know much about this place. Talking about Ross House, Alfred's room. What's the story behind that? Because I was sitting there, I was like, wow, this is something else.
So the Ross House was new to us too. It's in Ohio. It's just a house, but it has a lot of history. It's old, it's an old coal town.
Yep.
And that was incredible. Like, that place is intelligent, and I don't want to say on demand, but we had activity the whole time we were there, all over the house.
Some of our best experiences there, we didn't even manage to catch on video.
Yeah.
And also, Diego, we've noticed a pattern through many of the haunted locations that we've been at. They're close to running water, i.e. streams, rivers, and Ross House was no different.
But Alfred's room in the Ross House, he's like a joker, like a prankster. And that's why, like, in our one spirit box session, like, he says sorry after, because he like freaks you out at first. I definitely was caught off guard a few times because, you know, we've done so many spirit box sessions over the years. I've never like had a response like, so I don't want to say demanding. I don't know what word to use here.
The Lord speaks.
Like, yeah, like the one time, like we asked who's here, and his response was the Lord speaks. And it's like, okay, that's not funny. Like, he's just a joker.
And it literally, Diego, sounded like somebody turned on the TV and it was a televangelist coming through the headphones.
Wow.
I still to this day have not heard anything quite like that through a spirit box session.
And I know we're talking about the spirit was a prankster and a jokester of some sorts. What is the story behind that location? What went on there?
Well, there was an older couple that both passed away in the home. Mm-hmm. The town experienced a major flood, which I believe the water was almost up to the second floor in there or something like that. We could be off on that a little bit, but an older couple, and then
I don't remember how Alfred, I don't remember if he's the one that didn't even live there, if he was a neighbor, I forget. We go to so many places, sometimes I cannot keep up with the history and the names.
And that one, we kind of wanted to go in with any preconceived notions, and we kind of avoided a background history during our tour to just, try it out and see what it's like instead of, not targeting, but, asking for specific spirits by name. And it really was an active night, needless to say. We were...
I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt, but that's a very smart move. And I know that there are some of those that prefer to read up on the history before they go to a location. I'm one of those that disagrees with that as well, because in order for you to get a great reading or something out of that location, it's better to go with no preconceived notions or no history. Like I said, don't know the names or what happened, because I think it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. I like to know as little as possible about a location.
And we're actually getting ready to walk into a similar scenario this upcoming Saturday, Wildwood Sanatorium in New York. We know very little about the history of this place, and it'll be our first investigation in New York.
Yeah.
Now, in that location is, because I'm pretty sure others have investigated. How does the process go? Because you have to ask permission. Is there some sort of application or some sort of release forms? Like if something happens here, it's not our fault.
We always sign our life away at places. So obviously, like, you book them and then you sign waivers. Like, if anything happens to you, it's, your problem. And we're okay doing that. We know the risks.
A lot of the places have a lot of tripping hazards. Penhurst Tunnels comes to mind, where, you could step in glass. There's old wheelchairs, old hospital beds still laid out. And, I believe it was Nick Groff tripped over one down there. So it happens from, the most experienced, to the beginners. It's definite hazard or professional hazard.
It's kind of similar with. Sorry about my phone ringing. It always happens when I have a show.
That's okay.
I thought I had it on silent. My apologies. But as you're talking about these tripping hazards and dangers when you go to these locations, it reminds me because I have friends and people I've interviewed in the past who their thing is cryptids and Bigfoot investigators and researchers when they go out in the woods or certain locations, talking about the dangers of going out into the woods because you never know what you could find there. It could be a wild animal, it could be a gopher hole, you could trip over a log, anything could happen there. Similar with paranormal investigating because you're doing it in the pitch black sometimes, and I can see that the dangers you might encounter there, not just from the spirits themselves, but actual physical objects.
And a lot of places, keep in mind, like they're so run down. Like sometimes we go to places, I'm like afraid to step on the floor in certain spots. Like, am I going to fall through this floor?
And I'll walk right over it. And I said, if the floor holds me, it's going to hold you. It'll be fine.
And have you found when you go to different locations, I've known of cases where a lot of these spirits make a second appearance, like they'll go with you on these locations, or like let's say I'm going to use just a name, Frank, right? Let's say Frank is a spirit located in Ohio or Kentucky. You go to other locations. I know of people who have told me that some of these same spirits make their appearance at other locations. Have you had that experience?
No, we have not.
Not as of yet.
I hope not to be honest with you, because I don't know how I feel about that. Like, are they following? You know what I mean?
And I do believe more often than not, in our experience, I'll usually pop the question, are you trapped here? And, it's either no answer at all or I will get a yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, but we do have some friends that did a little experiment, a joint Estes session over the phone, and found out the hard way that spirits can travel from one location to another, which really blew both of our minds.
Because some do believe that spirit boxes are portals. So, you never know.
In theory, it could be possible. And both parties that were involved are pretty trustworthy individuals. So, I'll take their word on it for certain.
And I think I can subscribe to that belief system as well, because with certain devices, you kind of really are opening a communication. I was going to say Stargate. It's not even an extraterrestrial episode, but we'll go with portal, right?
Yeah.
And you're basically just opening a door, because if you want the communication, they're going to go open right through that door.
Right.
And sometimes it's not as easy to close it as it is opening it.
Yep.
Very true.
That's why, like, our spirit box sessions, I'm trying to think what's the length. We'll do like 30 minutes max, just because of that reason, because it is an open line of communication and a door, as you say. We don't want anything coming that, we don't know or welcoming. You know what I mean? We're just here to communicate.
I believe we might even keep it a little shorter than that. The Rockwell Tunnel comes to mind as one of the longest ones to date that we've done.
And with that piece of equipment, going to that, I've been on X for a lot of years, and I have not friended this person or I've talked to them. There's a person that claims that they wrote a book about how to make your own communication device or radio to communicate with the dead, right? And then as I was watching one of the videos, there's a piece of equipment that both of you made or combined with others. You talk about spirit portals. What was that piece of equipment that you created, and how did you make it?
So that is a spirit portal. They go by different names, but basically it cuts out the white noise. When you hear a spirit box, how it's like very loud. Sometimes you can even hear if anything is coming through. So the spirit portal uses, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word, sound reducers and noise gates, along with the radio and the spirit box, and it cuts out the white noise completely, and you only hear the words coming through.
Almost like an echo.
Yeah.
And this device, so it scans AM and FM. It just goes back and forth to different frequencies, right?
So I like to do AM because FM, it's too much radio. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff coming through. I like AM, and we do like a medium speed, and we do it in reverse.
We've had excellent results.
So how did you put this? And that's what it was a short video. And do you make these for other people too, or do you just make it for yourself?
Nope, I just made one for me, but I do always tell like our fellow investigators that we collaborate with, if they ever want one or want help, I can tell them what pieces to get and how to make it. It's very simple.
We're very much about helping, our fellow investigators out in any way we can, and equipment's just one of those ways.
Yep.
And then and speaking about supporting other investigators, do you go along with them to these investigations as well, or you normally just go both of you?
So for many years it was just Josh and I, but then the last year we've been fortunate and found some great people to collaborate with, and we hope to continue collaborating with them. It's just easier because huge locations, that's a lot for just Josh and I.
Yeah, we could go to a property 10 times and still not even explore the entire thing. Like Trans-Allegheny is a good example.
It's just too big.
And you only have so much time you can be there too, right?
Right.
Yep.
And with all these different types of locations you've been in, and sometimes even the most experienced investigator will have an experience that is like has a wow factor. What have you run into that comes close to that?
For me, I have numerous, just because Josh, you don't really get a lot of wow factors.
No, I really don't.
He doesn't. He doesn't like jump or startle easily. I don't know if that's why. But for me, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic, each time we have gone, the like black shadow figure in the one building, like I've seen it. It charged me the one time where it left me speechless. I'm like trying to catch up to Josh and I couldn't even talk. And then like the last time we went, it growled and we actually got the shadow on camera. I heard the growl. Josh did not hear it, but our camera caught it, luckily. And
I was about within arm's reach of where the shadow figure was peeking
it
around
was
the corner.
super, super close to us. And then the other wow factor is Penhurst. We were in the tunnels. Josh was under Estes, so headphones, blindfolded. It's me sitting there. We're, across from each other. And I asked if the one known spirit was still there. As soon as I asked that, there's like little doors in the tunnel, like rooms, and they're blocked off. There's no access to them. I heard this dragging and slamming noise, like a piece of furniture was dragged and slammed. I jumped up so fast, went over, ripped his headphones off because I couldn't believe I heard that. Like something with a lot of energy did that.
Some serious power.
And that it shook me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Now, were there any physical marks left on you, like scratches or bruising, or did you feel anything on your skin? I mean, other than what it did. But
no,
yeah.
So at Trans-Allegheny, I was scratched on my head, which, okay, that was the first time I was ever scratched. And, you see on TV when they get scratched, like, oh my God, it burns. It does. Let me tell you, I never knew the extent of it because I've never been scratched. And when I got scratched, I was like, my head's on fire. Like, I feel like I'm bleeding. Like, it was horrible. That's the only time I've been scratched.
I have not experienced that quite as of yet. And typically when something charges her or, like in that situation, I get her out of there immediately.
Yep.
And then I go back in alone.
Sure. And and this is just my observation, do you feel that perhaps is she attracting more attention?
Yes.
Than you?
I do.
Very much so. Everywhere we go, Diego, they Fort Mifflin, I would ask a question, and reviewing the evidence, nothing. You could hear crickets. Mary asks a question, you hear 2, 3, 4, maybe even more voices trying to talk above one another to answer her. It's amazing.
It's almost like you're a lightning rod for communications, which is
Yes.
fine. And then going back to the scratches on your head. Now, how long did the discomfort last? Did it go immediately? Was it for a couple days, a few hours?
The burning was a couple hours, and then I think my head was red for like 2 days. But yeah, it really burned though. That's all I can say.
Did you take photos of this or anything just to catalog?
We tried, but it was dark outside. You couldn't see it.
Oh, I see. Sure.
But like it was Josh, and we had 2 friends with us, and they like all shined their flashlights on my head. And they're like, yeah, because it was like right here on the top of my head.
And I have a little theory about why she got scratched. I believe something got frustrated that it was trying to communicate with her, and she didn't hear it or pick up on it. So it's like a little kid tugging at your leg. Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
And we went back since, and it wasn't anything quite like that.
No, I didn't get scratched. Thank God.
I got growled at, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And that was as we were literally, Diego, walking out for the night. We said goodbye to everybody. We were in what I call my favorite hallway in Trans-Allegheny. Long story, first time we were there, I wasn't sure if we were able to investigate this building. And we popped out a side door of the building we were in because, we're just kind of wandering around. We really don't know where we're headed. And I saw the red light from the exit sign coming from the first floor over there. And I said to Mary, and this might be the only time I've said it, I feel like compelled to go over there. So I went over to that hallway and, walked through it. And then when a guide came to get us, I kind of told on myself. I wasn't sure if I was breaking any rules or anything. So I told him, and he had a very interesting story about that same hallway. You want to?
No, go ahead. It's your story.
That he said, so you went in that hallway alone? And I said, yeah. Why? And he said, I've been here 8 years now, and I've been doing tours, and I, used to shut down buildings. They have to inspect the buildings at the end of the night just to make sure nobody's hiding out or, nobody's lost. And he entered that hallway, and at the opposite end of the hallway, a shadow figure walked out. But unlike the typical shadow figures where you catch them out the corner of your eye or, it's a real quick dash, this thing stepped out in the middle of the hall and started walking towards him. And it dropped on all fours. And I asked him, I said, well, what happened after that? He looked at me and goes, Josh, do you think I stayed around there to find out? He said, I tore out of there. He said, I won't go back in there without at least one other person, but I prefer 2.
Why? And so when it went on all fours, and of course, I mean, I know you didn't see that, but he described it. Did it change forms, or was it like a human type figure that then maybe changed into, and I'll use a generic term, maybe to a form of a werewolf or a dog man or some sort of 4-legged creature?
It went. All he really said, to be honest, Diego, is it was a human type figure that kind of lurched forward and just charged him on all fours. And, of course, I had a million questions. And he said, I'd be lying, Josh. I don't know, because I ran out of there as fast as I possibly could and did not look back.
I mean, I would have done the same thing. I'm not going to lie to you.
I don't run, but I definitely will leave. Like, I leave the area. I speed walk.
Yep. You did with that growl.
I did. Yep.
Few expletives, and I'm still in there in the hallway looking around, and that's when I turned to leave, and that's when I caught the shadow figure peeking around the corner at me. And Mary believes that it's a darker spirit, possibly demonic. I have a slightly different theory because we seem to run into this same, energy every time we enter that building. And hopefully this September, I'll get to either be extremely wrong or I can prove my theory right.
And that I think that's the most interesting part about being in this type of work, because you get to test your theories, and it's great to be proven right, but I think it's even better when you're proven wrong, because it opens a whole new door of other possibilities. And now you're more experienced with these investigations, and you've upped your game with equipment. Although sometimes you really don't need that much equipment.
Right.
What will you be taking with you in September? Are you bringing something new, same things, or a new technique?
In September, we'll have trap cams that we can sit out that we'll leave in that hall all night. So hopefully we catch the shadow figure a couple times, if not at least once.
We're going to leave a music box in the center of that hallway. It's set off by motion and EMF. So we'll have a digital recorder in there as well to hopefully if the box goes off and we're not around, that we'll be able to document that. And for the first time ever, I'm going to be able to enter that building completely alone. And I'm going to call it out and see if it'll come out and show itself. I believe it's an
I'm sorry, why are you going there by yourself?
Well, I believe the thing does not care for me. It growled at me once, and it runs Mary out just about each time we've been there. And of course, the story that came from that guide. And I believe that it's just an angry human spirit that's overcompensating and trying to scare people, because I feel like if it's demonic, it's more likely to try to disguise itself to make it seem less threatening and not give away what its true nature is. So I believe it's just a human that was a coward in life, and it's a coward in death. And I'm going to call it out and hopefully be able to document it.
You have to remember, though, these places, horrible things happened. Horrible, like imaginable things that should not have happened to people that didn't deserve, they didn't deserve any of this. There's a lot of negative energy there. And that's why I think it's something darker, because when you have negative energy, like living, it was negative in life, they're obviously negative after. To me, like my belief, it opens for negativity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just my belief.
And what do you, and I know that we know the way these hospitals or these clinics or these asylums were run back in the day. Like I said, horrible conditions.
Yes.
And if you've ever seen the movie, this movie might predate you for 20, 30 years. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I don't know. It's a pretty, you watch it once and it's done. But
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's got I was gonna say Michael Keaton. It's not Michael Keaton. You have to play the Joker. Oh my gosh, what was his name? The Tim Burton Batman. Jack Nicholson. And has Danny DeVito in it. And it's a pretty messed up movie and good movie. So when I get lost in these tangents, but we all know that there's a lot of abuse in these locations.
Yes.
Given that what happened in the history and the abuse, do you think, why are they sticking around? Why wouldn't they want to cross over?
To me, I think it's because they're stuck, because what happened to them was traumatic. That's just my belief. And they're just lost, kind of, if that makes sense. Because a lot died prematurely or wrongfully. You know what I mean?
Or in a very quick manner that some of them I don't even really believe they know that they're dead.
Yeah.
Right. They're still pretty pissed off at what happened anyway. So
right. There's just so much and you're right, asylums, they're a whole different level.
Nobody deserved what was done to those people. Nobody.
I mean, the haunts.
Well, and that just feeds into it.
And you're still going back, though. I mean, that's you're very brave of you both, but because if you really want to capture these things, you want to put it out to the public to give your evidence, and there's times where you can go to these locations, you could be there for hours, not catch one doggone thing. And then
we just want to understand more too. That's why we go back.
sure, and that's fair enough. And when you have these experiences and there's the long travel home, depending on the distance, of course, of these locations, how do you wind down? Because I can't put myself in your shoes, but if I were the person who got scratched on my head or had a bruising or somewhere, it would take me a while to come off the adrenaline. So how do you handle that?
I don't know if we ever do handle it, honestly. Typically when we leave a location, we're like wired, like, oh my God, that was awesome. Like we had this happen, that happened. And then it's like you crash because the adrenaline and, you didn't sleep for almost 24 hours. You just crash after. But yeah, it definitely is. It's like a roller coaster.
Certainly is. I'm usually wired for hours upon hours, so I'll normally drive us home.
Yeah.
Like that night that she was scratched, I drove us home, 5 hours after being there till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And I still couldn't sleep after a few hours at home. I was still wired for that.
And so it was kind of like a turn and burn. You went there and came back at the same time. Did you stay anywhere?
Nope. That time we did not. We're starting to, is it over 2 hours? We now stay. We're getting too old. It's taking a toll.
Yeah. We learned that both of us leaving actually Trans-Allegheny the last time, we were both extremely drained.
Yeah.
And we switched driving, I think, twice.
Yeah. It was bad. It's like, we should just got a hotel.
And old Cambria jail, Diego, we ran into some of the most dense fog I've ever seen before in my life. Mm-hmm. Where's that? The area at the
Creston, PA.
I gotta get that motel, bro.
Yeah.
Get that hotel or something. Go to the Super 8 because when I used to travel a lot, Super 8's where I went, had a pancake routine. And I love the pancakes. I was eating them all morning long, and I know I'm making light of the situation, but these are very serious experiences and serious things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get home, you take your cat nap because you're adrenaline, you're going to wake up a few times anyway.
Yep.
When you start going through the evidence, the audio, and the video, have you come upon something that you missed the first time? You're like, how did we miss this?
A lot. Like, it's always a rule of ours. If we go somewhere and we don't really experience much, we know we're going to review and have a ton. Because, EVPs, for one thing, we don't hear them with our own ears. Electronic voice phenomenon, the camera or digital recorder catches them. We get tons of EVPs, or reviewing the camera footage. Josh is walking with the camcorder, so he's not always looking in this, like, on the screen. So, it's easy for him to not see something.
Yeah, that shadow figure, we didn't have any clue till after we got home that it was there, because you wouldn't have been able to get me out of that hallway if I knew it was there. I would have went right back.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes we even will double check our evidence after we've already gone through it. Mm-hmm. And we made one of the best discoveries that to date, as far as EVPs go. I don't know if you heard our heart monitor from Hillview Manor. We dropped a digital recorder out in room 202 and just let it go for the night. And when we got home, I worked second shift at the time. I'm listening to it, and I hear, what sounded to me like a heart monitor. And, I rubbed my eyes. I said, you know what? I'm tired. There's no way I'm hearing this. I'll check this tomorrow. And I, threw the headphones on the following day before I went to work. And to my surprise, it was that, a heart monitor. We sent it out to numerous friends. And we said, what does this sound like to you? And in the meantime, I turned on every piece of equipment we own and there's no noise that comes even remotely close to it.
Nope. And then later, Josh re-listened to it like years later, like what, 4 years later. Mm-hmm. And I think you had different headphones, better quality headphones. And there was a woman singing like in that same recording after the heart monitor. That was like, I remember he ran out to me. He was like, you got to listen to this. And I'm like, what? Okay. And I'm like, I wasn't singing. There was only like 3 women there that night. I was one of them. Like none of us were singing. It was a beautiful voice. Beautiful.
It sounded like gospel almost.
It did.
Were you able to determine what kind of song it was? Were you able to understand the words it was singing?
It reminded me of Ave Maria, if anybody's familiar with that song. It sounded almost angelic, Diego.
It did.
Honest to God. It really threw me for a loop. I was stunned.
I think that's the first time I've heard of capturing a voice or any kind of phenomenon with somebody singing.
Yeah,
at least that's something that beautiful. At least,
Yeah, like we have posted. You'll have to check it out, but it's a beautiful woman's voice, definitely.
And it makes me wonder, Diego. The Hillview had a large Italian population when it was a poor farm, and I'm wondering if that wouldn't have been just a residual, maybe an old record player or something that a resident used to listen to a lot, because most people don't know a lot of the folks that passed away there, they still have their belongings in the basement.
Yeah.
Old record players, television, clothes,
furniture, everything. Like that's a little creepy to me. With our first time at Hillview, they take us to the basement and it's just like full belongings. Like that's sad that the residents there had no family to claim their stuff. Like they just like pile it in the basement.
And that is terribly sad. I'm surprised that nobody's looted the place. Now, I wouldn't do it because there are certain dangers to doing that. If you take a piece of anything from there and bring it to your house, I think you're kind of inviting an awful lot of bad voodoo. You're gonna get something bad from that.
I agree with that. We don't bring anything home. The only thing we bring home is we buy a t-shirt from the souvenir shop. We pay for it. We do not bring anything home from anywhere because I have that same belief. I don't want to bring any of that energy home. None.
Not even a rock or like a brick from OSR. No, we're told from Fort Mifflin that they've received packages in the mail where somebody took, chips of the main wall or stones, and apparently something took exception to that and started haunting their home. It attached to it and followed them home.
And they would mail the item back that they took. And it's like, yeah, don't take anything.
That doesn't surprise me in the least that one, people will be so stupid to do it, and two, it's like, oh, you know what? It didn't pay off. Let me send this back with my apologies.
Yeah.
And but do you own any items that are haunted in your house? Do you have anything like that?
Nope. I don't like anything old. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I do not like old stuff. I don't want anything that could possibly be haunted. Nope. I don't like. I love to investigate it.
Okay.
And experience it, but I do not want to live it, if that makes sense.
No, that's understandable. You don't want to bring that to where you live, because sometimes even if you don't bring an object, sometimes these things, they want to come travel and say hi to you anyway.
Yeah.
So, and how long has this team been together as an investigation team?
It's like officially 7 years we've been investigating, like officially.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And knock on wood, we have not experienced that as of yet.
We always say goodbye at places. Like that's one thing for us. Like Josh, especially because he's more firm than me. Like we're leaving, you have to stay here. Like we set our boundaries because we don't want anything to come home with us. You got to stay where you are.
I'll thank them respectfully for allowing me to visit and that, with their permission, we'll visit again sometime, but you are not permitted to follow us. And so far, so good.
Yeah. And we sage.
We do sage before and after, and the house.
Yep. Every so often.
Oh, that's perfect. It's a great strategy. And the reason I asked is how long you've been doing this. You're talking about 7 years. Eventually, you get emails, I'm sure, a lot, or DMs, whether on your social. And have you had anybody come ask you? And of course, you want to make sure they're legit or pre-screen them in some way to do a residential, go to their home. Have you done that yet?
So we've had one person reach out to us, but we did not go through with it because we found many, I don't want to say lies, inconsistencies with the story. Like it kept changing a little bit. And it's like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about going to someone's home. We prefer not to, just because number one, like insurance reasons, like what if something would happen? Like, when we run a place, we sign waivers, everything's fine. Like, I don't think we'll ever investigate homes, to be honest with you, unless it's like a close friend or family.
But we're, if there wasn't so many inconsistencies in this person's story, we were ready to pick up and, they were within about an hour's drive of us. And we were ready to go.
Yeah, we were going to. It just something was off, and we were like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah, it just didn't add up. And we've had a few other people reach out to us, but they're, the one gentleman was in Georgia, and that's just not, a weekend trip for us.
No, that's a little bit out of your area, of course, even for me, and I'm a little bit further south than y'all, but. And I get it because even doing this podcast, people contact me and they say they have a story or this and that. Sometimes you got to be able to weed some of this stuff out. It's like, yeah, I think perhaps you're not being quite honest with me.
Right.
And that comes with the territory. We're going to get that.
It's the world we live in too right now, unfortunately.
It is.
Talking about the world we live in and ways to get the information that we need. And with that so if people want to learn more about you, where can we find this information? What are your socials? And I know you have a YouTube channel, which is it's a good channel. I'm probably going to watch some of that more tonight. So how can the listeners find out?
So we are on YouTube, The Unknown Project. We are on TikTok, same name, The Unknown Project. We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on them all. And then we also... Instagram. I always forget about Instagram. Same name, same photo on all the platforms.
Excellent. And I know the listeners will be very curious to find out more about the Unknown Project. And I know you're going to be very active this year in visiting a lot of locations. I would love to have both of you come back and at least share some of the stories of what it is that you come in contact with, and maybe you can share it with us.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We would love to. We have a busy year, so that would be fantastic. We have some new places this year.
Yep, we're tackling Waverly Hills here in about 7 weeks.
Man, I'm jealous of you guys. I'm telling you that right now. And I was gonna go and say goodnight and all that jazz, but one question popped to mind because I know that you guys drop videos every once in a while. What's the next video coming out? What's coming up?
So the next major new one will be from Wildwood Sanitarium, which is March 22nd. So that week after, I'll be posting videos. I try to get them out as soon as I can, but it takes time.
And we'll be live that night on TikTok for anyone that's interested.
Yes.
We're even considering setting up one of our phones and let the live stream run all night and have it point at our monitor of our CCTV cameras. So if anybody sees anything, they can send us a DM.
Awesome. Just let us know when that happens, and hopefully some of the listeners, because I know I'll be watching, and make sure you guys are okay and to see what's going on with that investigation. So once again, thank you for taking the time off your busy schedule, being on Let's Find Out, and I'll see you later this year.
Thanks for having us. It was nice
Diego.
talking to you.
Thank you, my friends.
Let's find out with Diego. The power of Diego madness. Ooh, yeah. All content for Let's Find Out is property of co-host Diego. and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, co-host Diego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.